Missy's Glad Heart Studio. This is Missy Shipman with Missy's Glad Heart Studio, and thank you, Julia, for being our host once again here at the Baldwinsville Public Library virtual card making class. Today is February 12th, 2026. Never before has there ever been, nor will there ever be, a day quite like this one. And we're so glad that you're sharing some of your time with us this evening, or that you're catching us on replay. Either here on Facebook or with the Zoom link or in our YouTube channel, the Baldwinsville Public Library New York YouTube channel. You can find our playlist there with 5 years worth of monthly classes and lots of tips and tricks. No trips, I don't think, although I might have been out of town sometime when we were filming, so maybe that would count. But thank you for joining us tonight. And we have 3 projects, and they're kind of a merge of Valentine's Day into springtime. So if you still need a Valentine, you could turn these cards into marvelous Valentines or Galentines for this coming Saturday. But they're also with an eye towards spring on its way. So we have a beautiful daffodil card and a lucky message for St. Patrick's Day. We have a hello card, which is great for any occasion. You can personalize the little tag, either with a person's name or with a greeting that's suitable for the occasion. And then we have this really fun bag box. I'm going to teach you how to construct this out of a piece of cardstock and a piece of designer series paper. So let's take a look in your goodie bag this month. You have the clip and the little heart. Save this so that it's ready to put on top of your bag that we're going to make. We'll just set that aside. And then inside, we have all the materials for our 3 projects. There's also a couple surprises. We have some cookie cutters, some heart cookie cutters that you can use as originally designed to make cookies or candies. But I'm also going to show you a couple ways you can use them with your crafting, with different crafting supplies to decorate. So those are inside there, and I believe there's a cup of tea, so a bag of tea, so you can warm up tonight or when you're watching and doing your crafting with a cup of tea. And then we have the supplies for our bag box, which we'll do at the end. So you can set apart the bold stripes on one side and hearts on the other. And the little square, we'll set that aside. And the ribbon as well is for that 3rd project. But we'll start with our cards tonight. So let's see if I can pick them out of the bag. Okay. So we have the supplies for the hello card and for the lucky to know you card. Let's start with the lucky to know you card. I'm going to just set my other things aside here. So I've got some room to work with you. This kit has a pre-printed greeting that's perfect for St. Patrick's Day coming up in March. I'm just so lucky to know you. But you can also flip it over and use this same clever label shape to make your own greeting. And I'll do that on this sample so you can see 2 things compared. We have a beautiful, very vanilla envelope, and you'll notice that this envelope is very smooth. It's a beautiful texture of paper. And mint macaron is the name of this lovely sagey color green. We're going to fold that in half. And if you have a bone folder, go ahead and pull that out so you can make a nice crease. If you don't have a bone folder, you can use the back of a spoon or, of course, your fingers and thumbs. But when you have a nice crease, it really does add a professional look to your card. There are some tiny pearls embellishments, and there's our label. But this is a card we're going to build up the collage. And you'll notice as we study the layers that there's a piece of baker's twine that wraps around this black layer. So before we put the black onto the green, we're going to build up the other pieces and then add that to the green at the end. And that way the baker's twine will just be wrapped around the black. If we wanted it to go around the green too, you can cut a little slit in the seam here or the crease and then have it wrap right inside the card. I've done that before as well. But in this case, because we're adding the layer, we can wrap the ribbon around the black. Okay. This is such pretty paper. Yours might be slightly different from mine because this was actually cut from 1 sheet of 12 by 12 designer series paper. I cut 6 card fronts. So if you can picture it, 3 in a row, 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6. That was the one piece of 12 by 12 paper. And by cutting it strategically with just little bits of scraps, I could make 6 card fronts. And I love the artistry on this card. I think it's really beautiful. Some fun stripes on the back. We're going to make a thin thread of multi-purpose glue, or if you have another kind of tape runner or adhesive, feel free to use what you have. We're going to use our fingers to help push that in, and then I can go ahead at this point and wrap that twine around. Okay, so I'm going to leave a nice tail, and then I'll wrap it 2 times, 1, 2, and make a bow. Now we talk, oh, I think I was supposed to share my fork bow trick today. I promised that last month. Oh goodness, I don't have it here with me, but I will show that. Let's make a note for next month, our lucky February class. I will share a fork bow, but in this case, we're just wrapping and then tying with our, just like you're tying your shoe, to make a little bow off to the left-hand side of our card. Okay. Now we can add it to our base because this will be adhered to the green at this point. And then we'll continue to build our card collage. Just going to center that on the front of the card so it has a nice frame of that sagey green, mint macaron, and some of the flowers that match that green, and lots of springtime greens in this card, which is so pretty.
If I'm not
And
mistaken, then the thread can move up and down a little bit, but it's not going to move to any farther than
exactly. Yep.
where the
You'll notice
glue
when I
is.
put the glue on it, I put a little kind of above and below. So it will hold it in place, but it's not rigid, right? So you've got a little wiggle room if you wish to make any changes. Now you'll notice on my original card, I have this copper and mango melody, pretty orangey color. And it looks like I have 2 of them, doesn't it? But what I actually did was just cut them in half. So first I'm going to glue my circle onto the copper. And then with my scissors, I can cut it in half. So this is a trick to stretch your materials, especially when you have like a foil specialty paper or a glimmer paper. It's fun you don't want to hide it under another layer. So in this case, we're just cutting it and stretching it. And that makes it either look the illusion of it going all the way around or being 2 circles here. So that's a good trick. Now, I promised for the label this time I would do a little stamping instead of the lucky to know you, but this is a great greeting for a February card. It'd be fun for a birthday March card, or a St. Patrick's Day card, or just a thinking of you friendship card. But in this case, I'm going to flip it over so I can show you how easy it is to make use of labels. Sometimes we have labels from kits that are in other languages or that just have a greeting that doesn't seem appropriate for what we need. So a fun trick is just simply to turn it over. And that way we've got this nice punched shape on the corners. And this is a pretty image here that says, sending you smiles for every moment of your special day. And I think that's a fun one for somebody celebrating in March or anytime, but certainly this is a springtime card. And now I'll be able to add this this element on top of the twine. So to do that, I'm going to put dimensionals. Oh, let me grab my dimensionals. They're in a different pile here. Okay. And I'm going to put them just in the middle of the label, because I'm going to then tuck in these semicircles after I position this where I want it to be. Okay, I'm going to do it just north of the twine there. Okay, so it's not quite centered, it's a little higher up. You can position things like this any way you like. What's fun is to play around with the orientation of a card or a layer. This card obviously does have the portrait orientation because the flowers are growing from the earth to the sky. But other designs of paper, you could play around with this layout and have it be either portrait as we've designed or make a landscape card. All right, now we have these little pearls, so we can add them. And I'm going to put them around the white label. On the other card, I have some of them off of the edge, but because this label now, I don't have that border that was printed on here, I'm going to add that element with the embellishments there. So one of these things is not like the other. Can you tell what is missing from the card on the left? We don't have any of this white trim yet, this scallopy trim. And these are actually little sticker pieces. And they're a little bit long, so we're going to trim them. And I find that it's easier to trim it once I already kind of measure a bit. So you'll see that it starts, I want it to line up at the black, and it's going to go all the way across to the other side of the black. So I could have done this before I put the black on top. It might have been a little easier to measure, but that's okay. Gonna just snip off here. And now I have two long scallop pieces that I can put one at the top and one at the bottom. And I just positioned it so it would still show the black like this. I think I cut it too long. I cut it to go all the way along to the black instead of just coming to the cream. So I'll trim that. And then this one we can trim a little more because I learned my lesson there. I didn't want it to go all the way to the black, just to the cream. And there's an extra piece here now that has sort of a wave shape on both sides that you could use for another card project if you like. Put that in your little scrap bin.
Like in the middle of somewhere.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So have that be in your scrap selection so you can do, it's already stickered, already ready to adhere. So
And
there we have that first card. Do you have a
I
question?
I was looking in my packet trying to find the white thing and it had hidden down, but it is in the envelope that has the green paper in it. The
Yes, it should
cream
be in
envelope
that
with,
one with the vanilla card
yes.
envelope. Sometimes little pieces like your little pearls might get stuck in there or the other pieces. So do take a minute to find that. And it just adds a little bit of whimsy to it, I think, that kind of scallopy shape.
Yeah, it looks
So
great.
that's our first card for tonight. Now our second project is the hello card, and you'll notice some of the elements are similar. We have another copper foil circle and the mango melody circle that we're using for both projects. This one has some fun sticker flowers, and these are not stickers. We're going to adhere them with the glue. Same with the hello, but the flowers are adhesive backed, and you'll see that in a little bit. But I love that this has that foil shine, and there's a little foil stripe in the circle too, so it just picks up the accent. And even though this one doesn't have other gems added, I think the sparkle works as an embellishment. So we'll take out these pieces now, and this envelope is a white envelope. And let's take a look here. This one is oriented landscape. I'll take my bone folder again and just make that crease nice and clean and sharp. Now, because the word hello is longer, that dictated that I made this a landscape card rather than a portrait. But again, it's fun when you're using different materials to fiddle around and decide how you want to. You're kind of starting with a sketch as a beginning place, and then you can use your own creativity and your own supplies to make modifications. So here we have the word hello. This seemed like a springtime card for me too. Even though the green is kind of a rich regal-y green that we're using rather than a spring green, it's certainly at this time, well, not now, everything's snowy where we are now, but soon spring will come in all the different shades of green that we see in the springtime. So we've just used a small amount of adhesive to adhere the hello to the base of our card. And then we can build our little collage of circles. Now, when you do this, it's a good idea to kind of lay things out first to get a feel. You may want yours to be different from mine. I liked the feeling of this, the movement of the circles going across, and then room for that tag, but not covering up I didn't want to cover up too much of the of the copper. So that's why I kind of started over on the side. And then we'll just begin by building that collage of circles. Each time just pressing down to help the glue grab the fibers of the paper. This time you'll see my stripes are very horizontal. This time I'm going to make them so they're on a diagonal, just to add a little different visual interest. We can compare at the end to see which one we like the best. We've got a blush color one, and then this beautiful copper circle. And I want a lot of that to show, even though we're going to cover some of it up with the flowers. Now here's your little label, tag label, and I'm going to use a stamp from a new stamp set, which is lots of fun. It is called, let's see if we can find where I hit it. Here it is. It's called Creative Haven. And this is a fun one. Friends like you are golden, deep breath. You've got this. You're the best. You deserve all the good things. And then the one we're using tonight is so happy to have you in my life. I'm so happy to have our library friends in my life, and I look forward to each month when we can join each other to do our Zoom virtually, and also on the Friday morning class when we can be in person and have some fun stamp projects ready for tomorrow. One of our kits is designed for Valentine's, but really year-round Valentine's. So I'll show that to you after we do this project. This says, so happy to have you in my life. I'm just stamping it off to the right so that I have room to add the flower elements. And this I'm going to pop up with dimensionals. So the other elements you'll notice I put flat on the page, but when we add the dimensional for the flowers and the greetings, you can see that they jump up off of the page a little bit.
Yeah.
So
And
we'll
it's
start.
also a good
Yeah.
idea that you're covering up your ink as soon as you're done with it so that it doesn't
Indeed.
accidentally get on things.
That's a lesson learned over time of many times not doing it,
Me
leaving
too.
them out
Yep.
and making a mess. It's not a good day unless there's ink on your fingers, but you do kind of want to restrict it to your fingers and not your tablecloth and your shirt and all of that. So definitely a good idea to open your inks when you're ready to use them, close them when you're ready to put them away. So this is your little sticker sheet of flowers. And again, we've got this mango little color. I'm going to put that one down in the corner here. And then a trio of the blush ones. I liked those just kind of underneath. It's linking the colors here and adding a lot of visual interest. Now our bigger one is, I'm going to add a dimensional to this. So a tip for when you don't want something to be sticky on the back, you can just put it down and up on something like your jeans work really well. I'm going to put it on my red Valentine pants tonight. And what that does is just pick up a little bit of the lint from fabric, or it dulls the adhesive that's on the back, because we're going to use a dimensional to pop this up. So we don't want it to be sticky, and then if it's sticky, it will push down on the tag and not pop up as much as we'd like. So we've got a couple leaves here. We really just need to add one. I'm going to tuck it under like that. Maybe we'll use both though, because we've got them right here. Let's see. Put another one up here just to add some more color and angles there. So you can decide the things that are different about this. This one has two leaves. It's a little subtle because one overlaps. And then here I have the horizontal stripes, and here the diagonal stripes. So I usually like to shake things up. I rarely make a project the very same. As a demonstrator, one of the things that's a lot of fun to do are to make swaps. And when we do that, we make, 10 or 12 or 15 or 30 or 50 of the same card. And then it gets sent to one person, and that person sorts them all out and sends them back. So then you have a collection of the 10 or 12 or 30 or 50 cards that are all different. And it's really a great fun part about being a demonstrator, because you get supplies from cards made with supplies that you don't have in your collection. So you don't have to be a demonstrator to swap, but it is a great perk about being a demonstrator. So there's our hello card, our second project, and I want to bring in the sneak peek of some of the cards that you could make in the kits tomorrow. So this is one. I designed a box for this card set because they're just so lovely. Again, it was designed as a special delivery Valentine kit, but I made them just with the sending love greetings. So, and just for you. So they're really ready for any occasion. Sending love, sending good wishes to someone, and for their birthday or a get well or a sympathy, any kind of occasion. So this is a fun box. If you pick this kit tomorrow, then I'll give you the materials to make the box as well. If that's the kit that you choose, called Sending Delivery. I have a few of those. And then another new one, which I know people will love because we love butterflies, is this set here. And there it makes three each of three different cards and really nice greeting options. Thanks for being you. I'm always here for you and sending you strength. So these are an option tomorrow for our class kit. Let's kit together class at the library tomorrow at 10. For our third project, we're going to create this fun, it's called a box bag or a bag box, because it starts out with a square base, but when we wrap it up, it's more like a bag. It doesn't have constricting sides. So here's our little flip-in heart that came on your package that you can use again. And you'll see how it's just this fun opening here that doesn't have creased gussets. It's just wrapped around that base. I'm going to show you how we do that. Yeah, just put the clip on here. And you make my heart happy. It's another stamp image that I love, not just at Valentine's Day, but year round. So our dimensions, I want to share with you in case you want to make more of these. You can, of course, adjust the size to make different bases or different heights. So this is one, for example, that instead of 6 inches, I made it and it's just a 4-inch. But I liked the 6-inch. I felt I could put more good stuff inside. But it starts with that same square, and the square measures 4 inches by 4 inches, and then it's scored at 3/4 inch on all 4 sides. So we're just making a base, like the bottom of a box. Instead of having a lid, it's just going to be the bottom of the box, for example. Okay. And I'll remember to tell you too that this is 6 inches by 11 inches. And I went ahead and put the adhesive on here for us. So you'll just get to do the folding and cutting, but the adhesive is in place. Now I'm going to score my base. And it's scored for you. So we often talk about which side do you score? Do you score the part that has the bump, or do you score the place that has the indentation? And so a funny way to remember that is to hide the pimple, show the dimple. So we're going to fold in on the place that has the bump. And most cardstock is forgiving enough that you can do it either way, especially if you're using a bone folder or something to make the crease. But there are times when the fibers of the paper just definitely respond better if we fold on that, cover up the bump and fold that in. Now for our base bottom, we're going to just trim away little bits from the 4 to make 4 little tabs. And I like to just trim away at each edge, each part of the tab a little bit. And that helps me to make so that the lid, so that the lid base will fold up neatly and there won't be too much extra cardstock that will overlap.
So you're making the shorter ends a little bit less wide, and it widens
Yes.
to where the fold is at its widest.
Exactly. So I'm keeping these 90-degree pieces, the center, the inside of the box, but the tabs, I'm just taking away a little bit of the paper so that when it folds together here, it's still going to be at that 90-degree angle, but there won't be a little bit sticking up and it won't be too crowded where this fold is.
Yeah.
Okay. So I need to do that to all 4 tabs. Finish with this one here. Okay. I love to make boxes. They're one of my favorite things, three-dimensional kind of projects to work on with paper. So now we have the four sides. We've got our four tabs. I'm going to flip it over because I'm going to put the adhesive on the part. Let's see, if this were a top of the box, this would be the top. But basically, this was the bottom. So I flipped it over so I could put my glue on the inside here. And because I'm using that multi-purpose glue, it just takes a moment to grab. I'm going to use the pressure between my forefinger and thumb to just push and help the glue grab those paper fibers. And you'll see, because I trimmed away those little angled pieces, it's kind of hard to see on camera, but it's nice and smooth at the top here. There aren't pieces sticking up, which there tends to be if you don't trim away those little bit of tabs. Okay, now the next part we're going to do is adhere the paper wrapped around the box bottom to make sort of the bag. And what we do, I've used something called tear and tape. It's a wonderful two-sided, double-sided tape. And I've adhered a long strip on the long end and then on one short end. So we're going to begin by removing the long strip, the wax paper that's on that long strip. And I'm going to just start, let's see, I'm going to peek at my sample just to see. Yep, I'm going to start right at the end of one side here and the end of my box and just line it up. And I'm using my table to help me push down to create this seam nice and steady here, okay? And then I'm not going to crease or score anything here. I'm just going to fold and use my table so that I've got that nice thing I can push down straight and keep wrapping all the way around.
So the bottom of the box ends up even with the edge of the paper.
Of the paper, correct. So you're lining it up and taking your time. And each time you fold over, you're making sure that this edge is against the edge of the paper with the tape on it. Okay. And you can use your bone folder or your fingers to kind of help adhere that. And then what we have at the end is this little piece that's going to overlap. We have to pull away the liner. And then we're going to adhere that. Now, there isn't a seam to help us make a straight line here. So what you're trying to do is line up at the bottom of the box and at the top here. So I don't worry about it too much. I'm just going to start by lining up at the bottom. And then I'm going to smooth out the top here. See how there's about 3/4 of an inch, I would say, or so. And then you just seam that together. I was fortunate. I'm not sure it will happen like that for anybody else. See how my heart's lined up almost exactly? Let's see if that happened on my practice one too. Maybe it did.
I noticed that worked. I was like,
Yeah.
wow.
It was pretty close on the other one too. Yeah, that's pretty neat. Just based on the way the pattern was distributed on the paper. So now we have a seam in the back, but it's hard to see, isn't it? Because the heart's kind of lining up. But that's what I would say is the back of my bag. So when I just kind of pinch the front and the back together, I can take my clip and add it to the top to close it. So I like this project best if I don't make creases on it, but you can, if you want to, you can sort of crease it so that it's like one of those sour cream containers or like an Italian ice container that has that creased piece at the top. Okay. Now I love green, and this was a class with lots of green for springtime coming. So I included a ribbon for you to tie. And you certainly could make a hole punch in the top of the bag if you wanted to tie it that way. I liked using the little clip so that it was I'll take that away for a minute while I tie this, but so that someone could easily re-gift this project, right? They could receive it with a gift inside from you, maybe a little love note or some candy or cookies that you made or any kind of craft supplies that you want to share with a friend. And then you'll tie that at the top. But because we don't have any holes in it and or we're not using tape, then there's nothing that would be torn and it would be easy to reuse again. So, whoops, we're going to tie this near the top and then add that clip again. So something like this. And that way, again, that because the clip can come on and off, people can reuse the bag like this. Okay, well, I need to tighten that up a little bit, but you can see how it works. And this again would be if you started with a 4 by 11 inch, it's a smaller container. You can modify the size of the base and make them smaller or bigger as well. But this shape works really nicely because you can make two from one piece of 12 by 12 designer series paper. You can make two of the 6-inch tall pieces. And you're just using that 4 by 4 square of cardstock. So if anybody has questions about this, please add them now or reach out to me so that we can address those. I did want to show you a trick with the cookie cutters. If you're interested in using them for crafting and not for baking, or you, as long as you wash them again, you could use them for baking. But I'm devoting mine, the ones that I've used already here, to with markers and crayons and stamp pads. So on one side, what I did was stamp, use it like a stamp. I'm going to get another bag so I can show you. And if you're using markers like the alcohol-based markers, you want to put something inside because the color will run right through to the other side. So if you take a piece of cardboard or another piece of cardstock and insert it, you're going to have a neater stamp surface, and you're also going to protect the bag, the other side of the bag, so that
Right, and you
the
could
ink.
probably just cut off a piece of a cereal box to make
Exactly.
that
Yep.
if you needed
That
to.
Yep, the chipboard from a cereal box would be just a perfect weight. Yeah. Cereal boxes or cracker boxes are great for all kinds of different projects. So let me just slide that a little bit further and I'll show you. I took some pinks and oranges and I'm going to just stamp using the heart-shaped cookie cutter as a little stamp and make these gentle hearts here. So then you could color them in, you could put letters in them, you could spell out something fun or write little messages like the conversation hearts that we grew up with loving. I'm going to do that. Here's the sort of cameo coral color. So it's pretty subtle, but it gives you a shape. If you did this with acrylic paints, you could get a bolder, it would spread a little bit more than with the inks this way. But you can also take them and trace them with markers, either the inside or the outside. So here what I'm going to do is trace the inside. Okay, and then I can fill that in. These markers have two tips, a broad and a narrow tip. So just kind of fill them in this way. I like how when you overlap, it looks a little bit like stained glass windows. So I'm going to do another one and overlap with some yellow. Let's try this. I'll trace the inside and then fill it in. And then you get a little bit of the green overlapping there. Some of my markers are old, so they're good for this project because the tips can get a little bit worn. You wouldn't want to use your brand new things, or you try experiment with crayons or with other different supplies. Here's a little pink, which will be fun. This time I'm going to trace around the outside with the little scallopy edge, and just so it's going to have a little bit of visual interest here. There we are. So this was just to play around with. I thought these were fun. in the different sizes. And again, you can use them to make cookies or candies, but add them to your craft stash too to make use them as stencils or different stamp patterns. So I'm going to go ahead and close these up, Julia. It's always fun. When you were little, did you have special Valentine boxes or bags that you made at school? Anybody remember doing that?
Yep.
And sometimes it'd be like taped to your desk or put on top of your desk, and then people would go around and put in the Valentines. So I'm a big fan of year-round Valentines. The Glad Heart Stampers know that. I love in my business, we're called the Glad Heart Stampers. And I'm I'm thankful for a happy heart. But I hope this has been fun tonight to play with these supplies. And as always, I love seeing what you create with them. So please share with Julia and with me, the variations that you make or how you use what are you going to fill your box bag with, for example, or who will you share the cards with? We really love hearing about that.
Yeah, I was wondering, so I wish I'd had those nice little cookie cutters when I was making my heart uh, Valentines in grade
Uh,
school. But
yes.
how would you go about cleaning off the marker from them?
The cookies, well, these are actually alcohol-based markers that I had available to share tonight. So these could be cleaned with a we call it stays on cleaner. I'm trying to think. Like a even hand sanitizer will take that
Okay.
off.
Right.
Yep. And then of course, if you're going to use them for any cooking or baking, you'd want to make sure they get well washed. But if you're just going to be putting them away in a bin, I would probably so you can change colors easily. I would do it with a little bit of rubbing alcohol or
Good.
hand sanitizer. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Any other questions or comments? We love hearing from you and taking part. Those of you Denise, it's good to see you. I hope I'll see you tomorrow morning. And anybody watching the recording or catching us with YouTube or Facebook, please share comments or questions and let us know what you're going to do with the fun supplies.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Julia. We'll see you
Yep.
next month.
Okay. Have a happy Valentine's Day.
Yes, you too. Bye bye, friends.